In the opening of the first movie, we witness a young man engrossed in the meticulous task of sketching an apple. The room is devoid of any other occupants, and an eerie silence pervades the atmosphere. Upon completing his drawing, we observe a poorly executed sketch, indicating that the man lacks expertise in this endeavor. However, an unexpected development disrupts this solitude. A mysterious movement inside a closed cupboard startles the man. Tentatively, he approaches the cupboard, initially suspecting a mouse as the source of the disturbance. To his astonishment, he discovers an apple that has materialized out of thin air. Baffled, the man struggles to comprehend the inexplicable phenomenon. Gradually, he connects the dots and realizes that his sketch has inexplicably come to life. To put his theory to the test, he retrieves his notebook and proceeds to sketch a 100-yen bill. Brimming with excitement, he hurries to the cupboard and swings it open. To his amazement, he finds the 100-yen bill within. He meticulously examines the bill, verifying its authenticity. Overflowing with enthusiasm, he returns to his couch and sketches a pile of money. Upon completing the drawing, a substantial sum of cash miraculously appears inside the cupboard. With newfound wealth and power at his disposal, the man's ambitions extend to seeking a beautiful girlfriend. Therefore, he embarks on a sketch of an alluring woman. However, an unexpected visitor arrives at his door while he is engrossed in this endeavor. The man responds to the interruption, leaving his notebook on the table with the sketch remaining incomplete, missing the woman's head and lower body. After a lapse of time, upon returning to the room, he hears an unexpected knock emanating from the cupboard. It dawns on him that his unfinished sketch has materialized into reality. The movie reaches its unsettling conclusion as a terrifying hand gradually emerges from the cupboard. In the second movie, the central character is Bing, an overweight and profoundly lustful man. Bing serves as the manager of a private investigation firm, but is persistently preoccupied with inappropriate fantasies about female clients. His sole life goal revolves around indulging in amorous encounters. While he typically departs from work at precisely 5 o'clock, encountering beautiful women in need of assistance often compels him to remain at the office until midnight. His unwavering dedication to these illicit desires knows no bounds. A pivotal moment unfolds when a young woman named Susan visits his office, urgently seeking help in locating her missing husband, absent for a week. Bing, however, becomes so fixated on her physical attributes that he scarcely listens to her pleas. In his mind, he indulges in lascivious fantasies with her. It is only after Susan implores him for assistance that Bing emerges from his reverie and assures her of initiating an investigation post-haste. Nevertheless, his intentions are not aligned with helping her find her husband. Instead, he seeks to satisfy his own desires. Subsequently, the movie unveils more facets of Bing's character. He has never married due to a staunch disbelief in committed relationships. Whenever his desires are aroused, he summons his equally lustful secretary, Gina, for amorous encounters. However, their repeated liaisons have left him feeling bored. On the following morning at the office, Bing remains entrenched in his habitual activity, watching adult films. Unexpectedly, Susan arrives with evidence that could aid in the search for her missing husband. Bing, taking the evidence from her, assures her of their commitment to locating her spouse. Sensing an opportunity to further his own desires, he invites her to a local restaurant for lunch, ostensibly to discuss the case in greater depth. Susan, unsuspecting, accepts the invitation without apprehension. Later that night, Bing, accompanied by his subordinates, embarks on an investigation to locate the missing husband. However, he rapidly succumbs to boredom and decides to take a break. As he unzips his pants, he is met with an astonishing revelation that leaves him utterly incredulous. In response, Bing hastily departs in his car, declining a call from Susan in the process. He later seeks medical guidance and exposes his disconcerting situation to his physician, who is equally astounded and at a loss for an explanation. The doctor prescribes Viagra and encourages Bing to hope for recovery by the following morning. That night, Bing takes the pills and prepares for sleep, setting up a camera to monitor any supernatural occurrences. However, his awakening the next morning reveals that the situation has deteriorated further, with his manhood now considerably diminished in size. Terrified by this unforeseen predicament, Bing embarks on a desperate quest for help. he parades through the city, revealing his minuscule manhood to anyone he encounters, including a pharmacist, colleagues at the office, and random individuals at a supermarket. Finding no solution, he journeys to the Himalayas and implores a monastery for assistance. A monk offers to beat the evil out of it, which excites Bing. However, the procedure entails being subjected to a brutal beating with sticks until he loses consciousness. In the subsequent scene, Bing returns to his doctor and pleads for a solution. By this point, his manhood is barely visible. Regrettably, the doctor delivers the disheartening news that there is no cure for his affliction, and all Bing can do is hope it does not vanish entirely. Unwilling to surrender his most prized asset, Bing formulates a plan to tie a rope around it before going to sleep. Unexpectedly, Gina, his secretary, enters his room in search of amorous engagement. Upon witnessing Bing's condition, she is taken aback and shocked. She witnesses his manhood shrinking further and hastily attempts to secure it with the rope. However, their efforts prove futile, and Bing's manhood vanishes into thin air, leaving him with a profound sense of despair. The movie concludes as a despondent Gina exits Bing's room, no longer interested in him. In the third movie, on a Halloween night, a young woman is driving alone in her car through a desolate and unsettling wilderness. She appears to be disoriented and frightened by the complete silence enveloping her. In her quest for direction, she decides to make a U-turn and heads to the nearest gas station. Unfortunately, upon her arrival, she discovers the place deserted, exacerbating her anxiety. In a bid for help, she steps out of her car and knocks on the station's door. To her surprise, the attendant appears, his temper flaring due to a bizarre-looking clown who has maliciously defiled the restroom with excrement. The woman, bewildered and concerned, witnesses the attendant threatening to summon the police while brandishing a firearm. This provokes a reaction from the clown, though he eventually opts to exit without causing a scene. Following this bizarre encounter, the attendant provides assistance to the woman, offering her fuel and essential supplies. While explaining directions to her, an abrupt noise erupts from inside the store. The attendant decides to investigate, but tragically does not return. After 10 anxious minutes, the woman becomes alarmed and ventures inside the store. As she reaches a particular room, she is horrified to witness the gruesome scene. The clown, who had been present earlier, has brutally murdered the attendant and is now dismembering him. The next scene portrays the woman, nervously driving away in her car. She attempts to contact the authorities to report the murder, but poor reception thwarts her efforts. However, she suddenly spots the clown waiting for her by the side of the road. It seems as though he has inexplicably teleported to her location. Fortunately, she manages to escape before he can reach her. After some time, the woman encounters another vehicle on the road and approaches it, seeking help. Her hopes are shattered when she discovers the driver has suffered a brutal assault, likely at the hands of the same clown. Terrified, she quickly returns to her car. While attempting to call her boyfriend, she realizes that the clown has surreptitiously infiltrated her back seat. He immediately attempts to suffocate her with a plastic cover, but she breaks free by slamming on the brakes abruptly. Subsequently, she flees on foot into a nearby forest until she stumbles upon an abandoned warehouse. Despite its eerie and intimidating appearance, the woman decides to take her chances and seeks refuge inside. She secures the door with a metal rod. Several hours elapse, during which the woman remains too frightened to leave. As she attempts to rest, the clown unexpectedly emerges from beneath the ground, capturing her. He subjects her to a brutal whipping, causing intense pain. Nevertheless, the woman manages to retaliate by using the clown's own knife against him. She inflicts several wounds before fleeing the scene. The narrative then shifts as the woman reaches the road and encounters a passerby who, seeing her condition, promptly offers assistance. Unable to articulate the horrors she has experienced, she merely urges him to drive away, warning that he is coming. Tragically, moments later, the relentless clown catches up to them in his own vehicle, shooting the passerby dead. The ensuing car crash leaves the woman unconscious. Upon regaining consciousness, she finds herself in the clown's gruesome operating room. To her horror, he has amputated her hands and legs and scrawled derogatory words on her body. The movie concludes with the clown emitting a maniacal laugh as the woman screams in abject terror. The fourth movie unfolds in a dystopian world inhabited by monsters and spirits. On a tumultuous night, a ship sailing through a treacherous storm suddenly comes under attack by a colossal, crab-like creature known as Thanapod. Armed with deadly claws, it swiftly dispatches several sailors, compelling the survivors to seek refuge in the ship's cellar. Subsequently, the surviving crew members hold a vote to determine who will confront the Thanapod. Ultimately, they select a shy yet resourceful man named Torin. Initially attempting to evade this perilous task, his friends forcibly deliver him to a location near the creature's lair. With no alternative, Torin cautiously descends and encounters the beast. To his shock, he discovers that the Thanapod can now speak, using the voice of one of its previous victims. It repeatedly utters, "Me need meat, Faden Island, take me." Torin is terrified by the grisly sight, but devises a plan. He strikes a deal with the Thanapod, offering to guide it to the island, where it can kill humans freely in exchange for sparing his life. Surprisingly, the beast agrees and withdraws, leaving behind a trail of gore and entrails. Torin then rummages through the mess, discovering a special key. In the subsequent scene, he returns to his comrades and hastily informs them of the deal he struck. However, before they can seek further clarification, he rushes to the captain's quarters and unlocks a safe using the key. Torin retrieves a firearm and confronts his companions, demanding their submission. Once everyone complies, he asserts his newfound authority, announcing that he is now in charge. A rebellion is swiftly quelled when he banishes a dissenter into the cellar, where the Thanapod devours the unfortunate sailor. Subsequently, Torin assembles the crew in his quarters and reveals the Thanapod's desire to reach Faden Island, where it can prey on humans with impunity. However, he proposes a different plan since the creature lacks geographical knowledge. He suggests guiding it to an island devoid of human presence. The plan is fraught with risk, but it could potentially save countless lives. Torin refrains from making this decision unilaterally, opting to put it to a vote. He distributes slips of paper, asking each member of the crew to choose between the two options. After the vote, Torin is incensed to discover that two individuals have chosen to take the Thanapod to Faden Island. He responds by brandishing his firearm and executing them before the entire group. Subsequently, he disposes of the corpses in the cellar, where they are rapidly consumed by the Thanapod. The following morning, as the crew engages in their respective duties, Torin descends to the cellar and is shocked to discover that the Thanapod has laid numerous eggs. Thousands of tiny creatures now infest the ship, all voraciously hungry and demanding sustenance. Meanwhile, the remaining sailors have grown weary of Torin's leadership and hatch a plot to eliminate him. They covertly approach his quarters and attack him while he sleeps. But to their surprise, he is absent from his bed. Suddenly, Torin emerges behind his would-be assassins, dispatching them one by one. Subsequent to this massacre, he disposes of their lifeless bodies in the cellar, where they are promptly devoured. At this point, only Torin and one other sailor remain. During a conversation, Torin suddenly pushes the remaining sailor into the cellar, revealing that, during the earlier vote, the entire crew had chosen to take the Thanapod to Faden Island, signifying their willingness to sacrifice innocent lives. Torin eventually faces the Thanapod head-on, obliterating the barrels and spilling oil throughout the ship. He shoots the lantern, igniting a blaze that engulfs the vessel. He narrowly escapes the inferno and leaps into the sea, where he had readied an escape boat. The Thanapod, desperately attempting to flee the inferno, breaches the ceiling but perishes in an explosion along with its offspring. The movie culminates as Torin, the tenacious protagonist, rows away from the scene of chaos, leaving destruction and death in his wake. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.